the course of the years would have looked and said, hey, what's that Anthony guy doing? And WABC, they're the station that did it. I got to, of course, thank John and Chad over there. And I would be remiss for not thanking, of course, Sid Rosenberg, the morning show, flagship show at WABC in New York. I don't know how much he actually had to do with meeting with John and Chad and hashing things out. I know he said some nice things about me, but the real reason I got to thank him is I would have been the biggest piece of garbage at WABC if not for Sid. What I've done and said over the years that have made me persona non grata on radio and gotten people to say terrible things about me and probably prevented me from getting on radio all these years. Someone could just look and go, well, yeah, Anthony's record. Let's take a look here. Oh, boy. Oh, look at this. Oh, don't look at 2014. Don't do that. And then they go, wait. What are we worried about? We got this piece of garbage, Sid Rosenberg, working for us. How bad could Anthony be? He's a saint in comparison to Sid. So, Sid, thank you so much for being that guy, the guy with probably more baggage than I have. Sid knows I love him. I adore the guy. We've known each other for many years back at WNEW in New York. Might be back in the 1900s, last century. Sid was doing the morning show over there. And, of course, the Opie and Anthony show were afternoons. And we bumped into each other every so often. And he seemed like a pretty good sort. And, we've kept in touch over the course of the years. I would do a Bernie and Sid's show over at the other studio by Madison Square Garden a lot. And then COVID happened. They told me I couldn't show up at the studio. And then Sid starts yelling at me for not coming in. Like, there's rules. It's New York City. They were keeping everybody away, wearing masks. You'll remember the horror. But it's just, it's been a great relationship over the course of the years. And now we're actually working at the same place. I'm astounded. And I kind of got in the mood last night by listening to old Bob Grant clips. Bob Grant was just a legendary broadcaster back in on WABC back in the 80s and 90s, and he could be a little curmudgeonly every so often. If you get a chance, his stuff is online, and he just would yell at the callers, and it was hilariously funny. Get off my phone, you skunk! I'll punch your nose down your throat. I don't know. You're an idiot is why. It was some of the greatest radio I've ever heard. I was a huge fan of Bob, and I would listen to Bob on WABC many, many years ago. And again, I was working for a living. I was a construction worker until I was about 35 years old. So I would listen to radio guys like Bob Grant to be, God, how the hell do you do that? And the thought was like, I had no clue about radio or how to even start it. When you're working pretty much hand to mouth, the money you make, it doesn't leave time for school or even, the Columbia School of Broadcasting. It didn't leave any time for any of that. So you just work and time goes by and you have these dreams and aspirations. And, for the most part, without that element of luck, they never really come to fruition. And it's sad for a lot of people. I consider myself unbelievably lucky for how I got into the radio business many years ago on Opie's show on WBAB out on Long Island, New York. I'm a Long Island guy. And then we moved on to Boston, WAAF, and then New York, WNEW. And we were, let me try to explain to some of the kids in the audience what we were. We were a creature that was known as the shock jock. Not kidding. That was an actual thing, children. Gather round, and I'll tell you a story about the shock jock. This was a real job in radio a few years ago. And what it took was for the shock jock to be the worst possible human being you could find. Just irritating, obnoxious. All they talked about was sexual innuendo and body functions and sexual innuendo, racial jokes, misogynistic jokes. It was supposed to be, here comes the name, shocking. So this job as a shock jock was given to a few people over the course of the years. I guess Howard was considered a shock jock years ago, and Mancow, and there's so many around the country. And Opie and Anthony, we were shock jocks. And the really weird, bad part about being a shock jock is you're not liked. The GM and the PD at the station, the higher ups, they love what you're doing if you're getting them ratings. It's awesome. And you just want to sit there and push the limit further and further, step over the line, you know? And the only real line there was at the time was the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC. They look over broadcast radio. And in hindsight, right now, the FCC seems like something nostalgic and quaint, cute, to only have to worry about those dreaded 7 dirty words and getting a little too detailed with descriptions of bodily functions and sex acts. It was easy to adhere to the rules. And if you went over the rules, you had a team of corporate lawyers that would meet with the FCC and fight the battle for you. You never knew it. You never knew what was going on. They told you, hey, you said this. You're like, I don't even remember. So in time, that changed. The shock jock was vulnerable because, and I'll tell you why, people started getting a voice. And radio stations started getting bought up by big companies. Yeah. So the old radio station where the owner could sit you down and go, hey, you're being a jerk here. Let's do something to remedy the problem you caused. Once a bunch of companies bought the stations, it was all about, they're interfering with our detergent and diaper sales because they said something about the gay community or women or something. So it got more difficult to defend yourself, and the higher ups would never defend you. And the reason I really liked going to ABC and talking to everybody there is it's one of those kind of old school radio stations where there's a genuine owner. And there's the boss and the staff, and they're all happy to be there and working hard to win. And they don't also have a side gig selling tires where you say something stupid and all of a sudden they're looking at their tire properties tanking on the stock market. So it's so well suited for what I do, and of course what Sid does and everybody else here at ABC, WABC. So even in podcasting, which I went into after my last firing from Sirius XM satellite radio, even podcasting got vulnerable to what I call the mob, and not the Italian one. Geez, let's go after this radio show. It's a very difficult situation. It wasn't that mob. It's the angry mob of people with phones, with the ability to email your boss and the board of directors and everyone else that you said something that offended them. In the old days, people had to, I swear to you, they had to sit down and write a letter. They wrote a letter to the Federal Communications Commission. Would you even know where to send it? And then you have to be mad enough after you sat down, wrote the letter, put it in the envelope, sealed it, put a stamp on it, drove to a mailbox, and maybe gave it that last thought before you dropped it in the mailbox. You had to still be going, ooh, I'm very angry at that shock jock. And I would imagine, it's only human nature, that most people probably cooled off enough to not do that. Well, with the invention and distribution of the smartphones, especially, but even in the old days, the flip phones, and people had the ability to send a complaint, not so much to the FCC, to your bosses, to their employees, to all your bosses and supervisors, to the board of directors, to the sponsors. They were able to just send one button, and now you have all those complaints sitting out there on your ass. So it got very hard to be a shock jock at that point. I don't think people understood they should probably just not entertain the angry mob, but that isn't what happened. You got a bunch of people that didn't even know they owned a radio station, so they didn't care. What's happening? Who got us in trouble? Yeah, get rid of them. We don't need that. So you'd be fired pretty regularly for saying things that were deemed inappropriate. And again, not even by a government entity. Like, that was the scary part. The FCC was, the government. And we always had this assumption that as the future happened, that the federal government would be the ones that would have these ways of surveilling you and keeping tabs on your ideology and what you say and do. And they would smash the hammer down on you when you did something that was against what they were all about. And people were kind of afraid of that. I remember growing up in the late 60s, early 70s, everyone was always talking about that. Future shock and the fact that the government is getting more electronic surveillance on citizens, and this is what the future is going to look like. And then you look around, and it's not the government. It's not some powerful entity that you imagine has the money to build these surveillance machines and orbs that float around with cameras on them and loudspeakers. Citizen, get in your house. It was us. We did it. We were the rats. We'd grab our phones, and you see it now. You just turn on record and get someone in trouble, or you heard something that no one else would have heard, and then you direct it toward whatever group you assume will be offended by it. So you're the one exposing whoever to the offensive material. And in the past decade especially, that has taken off, man. I've known so many people that lost their livelihood, their careers. Certain family members disowned them. Just smear campaigns. And this was stuff that, back in that shock jock day was just looked at like business as usual. So it just became impossible to do that type of radio. And I think the other factor, when you talk about the shock jock and shocking days, again, it involves the phones and the internet and the ability to get so much on your phone. What the hell could a disc jockey do that could shock you now, today? I mean, honestly. Robin, remember Howard? Robin, she's topless. Oh, Howard. And it was just like a topless girl, and listeners would be like, whoa, look out, that's shocking. I guess it was. It was fun. It was one of those things. We used to do things on the O&A show that were downright terrible. Just terrible. And they paid us ridiculous amounts of money to do this, by the way. Shock jocks, I think, as far as radio personalities go, were amongst the best paid people on radio. You could be a music jock and know every B-side to every band that ever lived. And if you're spinning records and doing 2 for Tuesdays, they didn't care. The shock jock made the money. So it became kind of ridiculous. Who are you shocking in 2025 or even 10 years ago? Who is really shocked when you could pick up your phone any morning and with 3 scrolls of your thumb, you've seen literal snuff films? I've never seen so many people get killed in my entire life than I have in the past, I guess, decade. That cannot be healthy for our society. Cannot be healthy. And the contrast of what you get on the internet, it's like, what's his name? Alex from Clockwork Orange, when they pinned his eyes open and just showed him this horrible stuff. It can't be good. And then you're contrasting it. Every other scroll is like a kitten. It's something cute. A little kid doing something on his bike. And then there goes the guy's head. and no one can convince me that that isn't unbelievably bad for the human psyche. But again, the shock, get back to the shock thing. Who cares? You can't do what was done years ago. The O&A show, one time we had a blind guy on Easter, Blind Dave, his name was, hold an Easter basket, and a girl was launching Easter eggs at him. And being blind, he had to use like sonar or his hearing to get it. Now, I'm not even going to try to describe to you how she was launching these eggs. That was shock. They hear that, the ratings go up, we get a raise. There was another time, remember when cell phones had lost signals and you'd go inside and you'd lose your phone call? We were wondering if a cell phone could get a signal in the same place that she was launching eggs from. So we did it. And we called the cell phone and we heard a muffled. It was disgusting, terrible. And we got the pats on the back and the handshakes, and that was awesome. And like that was the shock jock back in the day. And again, you were just loathed by everyone in the business, especially the music jocks. They hated you. But like that's what happened. I think those two things, the mob rules of people that just want to get other people in trouble and report them for being offensive, the rats, and the internet just becoming something where it's horrifying. It's just some of the worst stuff you'll ever see. So what's really shocking anymore? It's very quaint, as I say. You know, stuff we used to think was, oh my God, that's crazy. Now it's cute. It's just adorable, and it's not all that shocking anymore. So, and another thing is these like podcasts. Everyone has a podcast now. So I think people believe if they have a podcast, they're doing radio. And it's really a different world. You know, broadcast radio is something different. I always had an affinity for it. I wanted to do it. I enjoy doing podcasts and things like that, but there was just something about broadcast radio. And even in 2025, when I was approached by WABC here, I didn't even think twice. I'm like, yeah, I want to do this. I enjoy doing this. And that's a pretty important part of, I guess, doing anything that you're going to do with your life is liking doing it. I thank God and fate and luck and anything else. I did very well with the Opie and Anthony show. I count my blessings all the time that I don't really worry about material matters, money and whatnot. So when I was offered this, thank God, because, you know, they really didn't crank open the wallet here at WABC. I heard Sid's making all the cash. I have to literally go to Sid to float a loan from him, which is a real departure from the usual. You know I love you, Sid. Stop. But so everyone's got a podcast, and it's they're just not good. It's gotten to the point where too many people are doing what they believe is broadcasting, and most of it is this odd sitting in front of a camera begging for money. And then you look at the chat, and the chat goes, you're awesome or you suck, and here's $5. And you go, thanks. And then you don't really do anything. You just read this super chat thing where people send you money. You'd be very hard pressed to tell me this isn't digital panhandling, that you're not just sitting, because you're not really performing. I don't know what most of these, some people are very talented. on podcasts. I don't want to make everybody sound like they're terrible, but the sheer number of podcasts would lead you to believe that most of them aren't very good. Some people have a good thing going. They got viewers and people, and they make money. But most of the people have no idea what it is to communicate with people, to sit down in front of a mic and now a camera, like all these things are video, and try to be interesting or compelling or anything. It's like a panhandler. You're just sitting on the sidewalk. You got a little sign maybe that says something, but you're not dancing. You're not singing. You're not giving the people anything except you're begging for money. And that's what I see a hell of a lot of podcasts are these days. So it's you get a podcast in a box. Years ago, and I'm not saying I invented it. Robin, I invented podcasting, Robin. I'm not saying I invented it. But very early on in the whole thing, I did have a video aspect to it, and it was in my basement, and I liked the idea of being able to do a video show. And most people that were doing podcasts at that time, you had to kind of know what you were doing. Now, I swear, you could go to Best Buy and get Box O Podcast. Just one box, you take it home. It's got the microphone, the camera, and the monitor. You'll be broadcasting your own podcast in no time. And that's what it's turned into. Too many people have a podcast. It's the rebirth of the 15 minutes of fame that Andy Warhol talked about way back when, that everybody will be famous for at least 15 minutes. And this is the new version of that, because it's so easy to get on, and most of these people are broadcasting to three people. I don't know who they are. They probably got lost in the internet somewhere, but most of them aren't very good, and it's not radio. And again, to kind of sum it up, this is radio. I've wanted to do this now for so many years. I considered my exile a life sentence, and I'm really, really happy to be back at WABC Radio, New York City. I couldn't be happier. I thank everyone that worked to get me on this station, and I'm looking forward to a long, fun, illustrious career here at WABC. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back and talk about some things that are happening. Don't go anywhere. It's the Anthony Cumia Show.
It's the Anthony Cumia Show, 77 WABC. Stand by for Greg Kelly.
All right. What do you want from me? Great speech. I loved it. For me, because I watch this stuff all the time, and I love it. I love it. I love it. It was great. He should do a speech like that for the American people. I don't necessarily need it.
Let me lower it for a minute. VT Radio, hello. Team Radio 922, hello. Tickle B Radio, hello. I saw Chrissy earlier, hello. And Theo, hello, everybody. This is Anthony Cumia Show. He's back on the radio, on terrestrial radio. The last job he had on radio was XM, Sirius XM. He was fired. Before that, he was famous for Opie and Anthony. This is back in 2000, 2001 when we're talking about what it was. Kiss F. Oh, I'm trying to remember. Anyway, I don't want to spend too long because I don't want to talk, and I just want to hear the radio show. Sliwa cannot. What happened with Sliwa? There was a couple other people. Frank Morano. They're all running for office now, so that's why they had to put their radio shows on hold. Because while you're running for office, you cannot have your own radio show. That is a big thing with the FCC. I did not know that until a few years ago. I did not know that, but actually that makes sense. That's why he was off the air last time when he ran for mayor, and then he came back. So he's basically temporarily off the air until if he becomes mayor, then he becomes mayor. If he doesn't become mayor, then he'll be back on the air somehow. So that's the deal with Curtis Lewa. All right. There you go. So back to
I love it. They say it's impossible until Trump actually gets it done, and he's getting it done.
There you go.
For more Greg Kelly, listen weekday afternoons, 12:15 to 3, or listen anytime on 77WABCRadio.com. This is the Anthony Cumia Show. 77 whipping out free speech. It's the Anthony Cumia Show. 77 WABC.
Welcome back. A nice little break. For 11 years doing podcasts, I never was able to take even a breather. It was a solid couple of hours of yapping.
Couldn't even get up and use the restroom, as they say. But now, see, I get a little breather. It's nice. Welcome back, the Anthony Cumia Show, right here on WABC. The entertainment business, and I was kind of touching on that with the first break about what's been going on in radio and podcasting, but even mainstream media, the television, TV shows, movies. I'm honest with you, I don't know one TV show that's on network television right now. And I'm pretty savvy with this stuff. I'm not somebody that's like, by gum, they've passed me by with that idiot Fox. I've never gotten to that point of age. I haven't aged out of television. I've maybe intellectually passed by television. It all seems like such drivel, this PC nonsense. And I even hate using PC because it's so dated, a dated term, but I don't know what else to say. Everything's got to please everybody. All these shows have to have every type of person, sexually, racially, everything. And that's more important than good acting. And the writing, it's not edgy or compelling anymore. It's just terrible. And don't let Netflix or Amazon fool you. They put out shows, and the first episode will hook you. I've done this plenty of times, and I feel like a sap every time it happens to me. I'll put a show on and go, oh, wait, this seems kind of cool. It's a good premise, maybe a sci-fi thing, a little weird. And you watch the first episode, and it hooks you. You're in. Now, within 3 or 4 subsequent episodes, I'm like, this sucks. It's terrible. And then they're not done with you. The new season will come out, and you hadn't watched the entirety of the first season. So the second season comes out, and they put a promo on that goes, oh, wait, I remember that guy. Oh, they're doing that? Now you go back, finish season 1, and start watching season 2. And you realize it sucks. They just rope you in with garbage and nonsense. And there's really no option to it. There's really nothing. And believe me, I'm not waxing fantastic about the old days. I remember Super Train and some of these other garbage shows that were on, Love Boat, which used to do great numbers. But you watch it now, and you're like, what, was everyone high or incredibly stupid? Do they have some type of brain damage? Because those shows are not very good either. But there were a few good ones, obviously All in the Family. And then even, this is even over 20 years ago, HBO would pull out shows like, obviously, The Sopranos. What else? Oz. Breaking Bad wasn't on HBO, but obviously another great show. But that's done too. I think the content of those shows are too controversial now. Too many people would get upset. There, you think Tony Soprano could talk to Hesh the way he was? The rent. Oh, look, Hesh is here for the rent. Oh, Jesus Christ. People would be like, uh-oh, anti-Semitism. Oh, geez, Italians look bad. You can't do that. And it's silly, and it ruins everything. And I think there isn't one show that is well acted and well written right now that I have any desire to see. And like I said, I'm pretty up to date on these things. I know what's on. I just have no ambition to watch it. What I was getting to, though, were the talk shows. Late night talk shows, it has been a death spiral for decades. Let's be honest. What was the last good late night talk show? I guess Letterman and Leno, when they were going at it, and it was still fun. And you know, Jay would make fun of every politician as long as it was funny. There was no agenda to it. And then these late night talk shows, like, you know, Kimmel, of course, and Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers, and they just all of a sudden became propaganda. And you can't even call it anything else. They're owned by the big networks. The networks, obviously, I mean, if you've been asleep for the past 10 years, you would still know that mainstream media, and especially the big three networks, have just been a propaganda machine for the left. They tried their damnedest to get rid of Trump. And, you know, in some cases, quite literally, get rid of Trump. We all saw it. The onion layers had been peeled back. Donald Trump, I think, is responsible for some of that. He called them out when every other politician would just lay back and be quiet and not say, hey, I think you're lying. I don't think that's the truth at all. And we're all seeing it now. And it's proof. I mean, there's proof. There's something called ratings. No one is watching. Any poll that comes out says that mainstream media, the big news broadcasts, are full of crap. They are lying to us. They have zero faith in them. And I think that's what we're seeing. And when you look at a late night talk show, years ago, you expected entertainment. That's it. You wanted entertainment. Now, under the guise of entertainment, you're constantly being beaten over the head with a liberal agenda. It doesn't stop. And I have a clip here of Stephen Colbert. He's talking to Jane Goodall, who is the chimpanzee lady. She's the monkey lady. This girl's around monkeys all the time. She loves them. Have a banana. She was on the show, and like back in the Johnny Carson days, if an animal expert came on, she best damn well have an animal with her. She wasn't there to talk about politics. The monkey comes out, Johnny hugs the monkey, it kisses him, everyone's laughing. Doc Severinsen is, you know, gay. I mean, happy. It was back then when the word gay was happy. He's all happy, and Ed McMahon is rolling on the floor, not because he's laughing, he was intoxicated. It was a great time to be alive. So they would have had the monkey there. It would have maybe took a dump on Johnny's desk. He gives that stare at the camera. The audience is dying laughing, and they go to an output commercial. No politics. The only politics you saw, he dressed up like Reagan, but then he dressed up like Mondale or Carter. It was always just for the joke, not to try to get an agenda across. Now, it's pathetic. Watch this clip. It's Colbert talking to the monkey lady, Jane Goodall, and it's all about climate change.
One of the candidates here in the United States for the election will take place in November is Donald Trump, who has said at various times that global warming is a complete hoax being propagated by the Chinese for reasons that he doesn't explain. And also that global warming, on the other hand, isn't so bad because we'll have more beachfront property. What do you think the proper response is to someone who so cynically minimizes the crisis?
Well, somebody who said what you just said to me, I would say, yes, there'll be more beachfront property, but the old beachfront property will be gone because of rising sea levels. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't make any sense. And you can't be a climate change denier because we have the hurricanes, we have the floods, we have the fires, we have melting ice, we have sea level rise, islands are disappearing, and then some people say, oh yes, but that's a cycle of nature. So I say, well, suppose it is a cycle of nature. Shouldn't we get together with our intellect and try and do something to protect our children for the future?
Sure. The dinosaurs going extinct was a cycle of nature.
Dinosaurs going extinct. By the way, did I say watch this clip before I went to it? I think I did. I'm so used to a video medium. Is that entertainment? I mean, it's the monkey lady. Have a monkey. Have Colbert feed him a banana. It'll be adorable. But no, they got to talk about climate change, and completely one-sided conversation, by the way. They both know. I'll give Jane Goodall a pass. She's 90 years old, God bless her. And she's done stuff. I mean, the things she's actually done have made a difference in the primate world. She is a huge advocate for chimpanzees and primates around the world, and has probably saved a bunch of their lives and their habitats and whatnot. So I'll give her a pass. And God, of course she's a liberal. But this is the guy that danced around in syringe costumes during COVID, the vaccine. And again, propaganda, trying to get people to get injected with a vaccine, whatever. And now here he is talking climate change. Who knows? And by the way, even though I'm giving her a pass, really? The sea level's gone up, Jane? Show me where. I could right now go to a beach that I went to at 5 years old on Long Island. Crab Meadow Beach, Fire Island, Jones Beach out on Long Island. And the water is exactly where it was when I was 5 years old. Plymouth Rock. It's a tourist attraction. It's still there. It hasn't been covered up with water. How? Islands disappear? What island? A volcano blowing an island up, I could see that, but I don't think any island has been covered with water unless it's a tsunami and then it recedes anyway. But they're talking like the water levels are going up, and I see no proof of that. I see proof to the contrary about that. That, you have all these resorts, these beachfront resorts that have been there forever, and they're not underwater. And they're always such alarmists, the climate change people. You see these posters sometimes or videos, and they come up with these AI videos of what it's going to look like when, it finally happens. The thing they've been talking about for 60 years finally happens. It's been happening, it'll happen every 5 years. That's what they said. And then they just skip. By 1985, we will be underwater. 1985 comes. Oh, 1990 is going to be a wet one, people. When does it stop? And then you see these videos, and I've seen these. Manhattan, right? You got a street, Manhattan, 57th Street. And it's flooded like halfway up these 30-story buildings. And there's an underwater shot of a taxi cab floating underwater, very eerie looking. And it's like, how fast? I haven't seen the water come up an inch. How fast does the water come up where the cabbie didn't I must drive away? He got caught in the climate change flood that maybe in 10,000 years will come up an inch, maybe. But he got caught. Or no, he got stuck. So it's all horse crap. It's just garbage. And they push it and push it because that's what they do. There's no entertainment value to what these talk shows are doing. Even the celebrities, aren't we done with celebrities? I think this is something fairly new. They were looked at for so long as, the people that sparkled, You saw a celebrity in person, and they didn't look like regular people. They shined. They were like, that's the person. It's an amazing phenomenon with celebrities. And it was like that forever. The 30s, the 40s. Clark Gable coming into the premiere. And that was how we lived our lives, with this adoration of Hollywood. Well, they started opening their mouths. No one wanted to hear it. And I bring up the old talk shows, Letterman and Carson and things like that. And, they'd sit down and talk about their new movie and maybe reminisce about an older movie. Tell a story about, well, we were out with Dino and Frank the other day, and we were at the Sands in Vegas. And this girl comes, and they were fascinatingly fun stories, and you lived vicariously through these people. They were amazing. And then they had a friggin' opinion, and no one wanted to hear it. And worse yet, they started believing in their opinions and themselves. And with that same self-righteousness that they probably had but never exposed to the general public, that started coming out. Hey, let me tell you what you should be doing with your money. Let me tell you where to live and who to live with, and how you should feel about certain sexuality or circumstances. Or they just come out and they want to tell you how to live your life. And they're blithering idiots. Unless they're telling some kind of an entertaining story about Sammy in Vegas or something, you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear what they're thinking. For the most part, they're empty vessels. Most actors are just morons. They have nothing in their head, because I truly believe that when a writer writes a character, they could dump it in that empty vessel that's an actor's head. And then the director dumps where you're supposed to stand and move move your head and arms. They don't have the ability to do that in a regular human setting. So when they go on these talk shows, which, by the way, are propaganda machines, they're supposed to toe that company line. And they do it, but it's so insincere and it's so pompous. And we don't care. We don't want to hear it. And you think back, I think the ratings for award shows are a great barometer of how sick and tired of their garbage we are. The Oscars, the Emmys, the Grammys, the ratings are nowhere near what they used to be when we had an adoration for these celebrities. And you see them now and you're like, I don't care. I just don't care about these people. They lost it. The glitter is long gone, people. And, I don't think it could ever come back. We're just not taken. We're not taken by them anymore. So I don't know. There isn't one celebrity I could think of that I've heard their opinions on world events that I go, yeah, not even that I agree with it or disagree with it. They just sound like idiots. They sound like blithering idiots talking to you. And then you get the real hardcore ones like De Niro. Talk about destroying your legacy. If anyone would have told me that I would despise Robert De Niro and think of him as mentally ill, mentally damaged, the tard word, I'm not sure about some of the words I could use here, but I would go, come on, you're out of your mind. Really? Taxi Driver? Really? King of Comedy? Casino? Goodfellas? All these movies, that's his legacy. I'd certainly throw away a Rocky and Bullwinkle and never even talk about it because he has these great movies. And what does he go and do? Opens his stupid mouth. We never heard from De Niro, by the way. Some of his biggest movies came out. I don't remember ever seeing him on a talk show. Sitting there, Johnny, this is a great movie. I'd play a mobster again. I don't remember hearing him talk about anything. I don't remember on these shows. And then Donald J. Trump, the escalator ride down the Trump Tower. And so many of these celebrities that had an impenetrable barrier of admiration were just naked because they lost their effing minds over Donald Trump. When De Niro starts talking about how he'll take him out back and beat him up, this is a guy in his 70s, and he's talking about beating up at the time another guy in his 70s. And De Niro, like tough guy, he played a few tough guys in movies that were pretty convincing. Goodfellas, you know, he's stomping Billy Bat's head with Pesci. Yeah, I get that. I still don't think he could have actually done it. I think he was wearing shoe lifts that were about 4 inches high. He's not a tall man. And then you hear him talk. He's an idiot. He starts talking about beating up Donald Trump. And then you see him in The Irishman. And they try to recreate a scene where he's stomping someone a la Goodfellas. It is the saddest thing you'll ever see. It looked like a child with muscular dystrophy trying to shake dog crap off his sneaker. That was exactly what it was. His hands are flailing and his fingers all goofy and convulsing. He made this face that did not look tough. It looked like he needs assistance. Hold his tongue down with a spoon. I think he's having a convulsion. So, you know, there are these people that had these reputations and this legacy, this film legacy, and now you see them. Look, I'm still going to watch Goodfellas. I'm still going to watch Casino. But you look and go, oh, this idiot, this jerk. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and then we'll be right back with some more stuff. So come on right back. Don't go anywhere. Anthony Cumia Show.
It's the Anthony Cumia Show. 77 WABC. Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Dominic Carter, City Hall. The numbers don't lie.
So I'm just doing a live stream for the Anthony Cumia Show. It's first time he's back on radio, on terrestrial radio, excuse me. Of course, he's most famous for the one of the two of Opie and Anthony back in the 90s and early 2000s. I used to enjoy watching, listening to them. I used to listen to Howard Stern too, actually, but now, of course, there's no way I can listen to him now. He's nuts now. He's just totally woke. And back then there was Sirius and XM separately. I actually had a cross subscription to both. So I alternate. I still have those radios in my collection today. I have a Sirius radio and an XM radio is still upstairs on the shelf. And it was like T Radio 1972, excuse me, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, back then I used to listen to that type of radio. I mean, it was that. This is before social media and all that stuff. It was pretty funny radio too, and of course now it's not the same. And of course we're older now, but it's good to see him back on the air. And I had a feeling he was going to be on the air after Sid Rosenberg had so much success in the morning. I was wondering when he was going to come back. Something told me he was going to be on ABC, and I'm glad he's back.
In the morning. You know, I say this to you all the time. The best talk every day.
So this radio is the G Storm emergency radio. I made a review on this radio. Go check out my videos. I like the radio overall. It's just the bandwidth is a little too wide on this, but it is a great sounding radio. I love the speaker on this radio. It is a great sounding radio, and it's waterproof. That's one of the things that intrigued me to this radio. Is that, and it has a dual battery function. There is a built-in rechargeable battery in here, but also you can put, I believe AA. I never opened it up to this day. And there's the back of it. You can see it has a big screw there. And it has, everything here is a waterproof type thing, Even the buttons, everything has gaskets in it, everything. And I forgot what's the IP rating on this radio when it comes to waterproof, but it's up there.
Is this Anthony Cumia? All right, I've been on hold since 2014.
Yeah. Well, that was the last time I was. Well, even that was satellite radio. I think 2002. Two was actually the last time I was on broadcast over-the-air radio on WNEW. So it's been probably 23 years since I had a show on broadcast radio. Crazy, right? What's up, Chris? How you doing, man?
Let me be the first to welcome you back to broadcast radio. We are all so proud. I've known you for many years, and
thank you, man.
And I know this is something that you've excelled at, and we can't be happier to have you back. Welcome. You brought back AM radio. We're all listening to AM radio right now.
It's crazy, right?
It's unbelievable.
I know.
My car radio broke about 6 months ago, and I had to get it fixed. And the reason I got it fixed because it wasn't getting AM radio. It's just a true story.
You've been
a friend of mine is also on.
Yeah, you've been an AM guy for quite some time. You're into sports. You're into the ball games and everything. So those are people that still have amplitude modulation units in their automobiles. So that's awesome, man. I definitely appreciate it. How are those? I know they're probably not near you, but the fires out on Long Island, you're probably getting a lot of news about that.
Yeah, incredible. Not near me. They're about an hour and 20 minutes past me. But I know, I guess back in the early 90s, we had the Pine Barrens go up, and a lot of that got burned. I haven't seen any smoke or anything over here, thankfully. I think they've got it pretty much contained now, and most of it was put out. I know our good friend Mikey out there has had his whole area around his shooting range got torched up, but thankfully everybody's okay. And I hope everybody made it through that without a lot of damage out there.
Yeah, my sister Dawn is in Myrtle Beach, and she just dealt with an evacuation and the helicopters flying over and the water and the fire. And then my brother's out east on Long Island, and he starts talking about seeing the helicopters, and so they're chasing my family. It's a conspiracy. I know.
Unbelievable. Just like you were talking about. It's the climate change.
Climate change. That's what they say. It's so stupid. We're having fires and hurricanes. She called a hurricane a hurricane. Go back to your monkeys. It says hurricane. And meanwhile, there have been much worse hurricanes and tornadoes and flooding. And they want to make it sound like it's never happened before. Yet it's just part of the planet. It's how this planet lives and breathes. And like Carlin said, we are merely the fleas on the back of a dog when it comes to Mother Earth.
We are. It's circular. It all comes around. Everything. Look, things are going to burn. It's going to, take time. It comes back, and then years ago it'll burn again. It just
more room for more vegetation, and it's that's the way things go, man. Chris, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna. They're telling us you have to go. I'll see you probably later on PGA 2K25. We'll play a little golf later online.
You got it, man. Good luck and welcome aboard.
Thank you, buddy. Take it easy, man. Yeah, Chris is like he'll be the representative of everyone that wanted to call to say, Anthony, man, it's so cool to have you back. Thank you. And I do appreciate the hell out of it. You guys have been so awesome about this. And I definitely appreciate it. I have a tragic story. I know we're supposed to not really keep things light. I mean, how light is the world these days? But there's something here that begs the question. Tesla, the Cybertruck, was involved in a drunk driver high-speed accident that took the lives of some youngsters. The driver, 19, Soren Dixon. Soren Dixon! Yeah, is Soren Dixon? Soren Dixon! Soren Dixon had a blood alcohol level of 0.19. That's over twice the legal limit. When he lost control, slammed into a retaining wall and turned the truck into an inferno. couple of passengers died. They said miraculously one guy lived. And despite the flames, firefighters said the Cybertruck's massive lithium-ion battery did not ignite. Because that's the big thing that people are worried about when these cars have some really high energy accidents, is that battery's going to go up, and those things just don't go out. The fire departments need insane firefighting equipment and chemicals to even try to put that out. You put water on it, it gets worse. It's crazy. Science. So I wouldn't just say that if I wasn't thinking something here. Don't these trucks and Teslas drive themselves? Don't they have autopilot? And not like cruise control, like the old days. You know, I put on my cruise control and I crawled in the back. These are self-driving cars. They're autonomous. They have automatic navigation. You could put in your address from whatever gin mill he was obviously at, or a party, and that thing will drive you home. And it will do a much better job than somebody with an 0.195% blood alcohol level, I would assume. Now, there is a problem if you get pulled over, which I think, boy, legally, I don't know what happens with this. I haven't heard many stories about it, but I'm certain if you're the owner, operator, you're supposed to be behind the wheel, even if it's driving automatically, and you're drunk, you will get a DWI. If you get pulled over and the cop gives you a breath test or a field sobriety test and you don't pass, you are getting a DWI. But that isn't even it. Like, take the chance that you might get a DWI. And what the hell is the Tesla going to do except drive impeccably home using directionals, doing the speed limit, stopping at every stop sign to a complete stop? So I don't even know what a cop would pull you over for. But if you're drunk to that level, let the thing drive you home so you don't kill yourself and other people. That seems like the solution there. And I wonder if any other cars, people in Teslas that have been drunk, have been pulled over, and if their lawyers have tried to litigate that, hey, this guy wasn't driving. You know, there's a responsibility you have in the vehicle to monitor autonomous driving. But, you know, are you really responsible for the what this vehicle's doing when you're drunk and you're not controlling the car? Interesting. Yes, I will go to a break, and then we will come back for the second powerful hour of the Anthony Cumia Show. Stay tuned.
This is the Anthony Cumia Show, 77 WABC. This is New York's talk leader, the crown jewel of talk radio, WABC New York and 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bays. 77 WABC News starts now.
77 WABC News 47 and mostly clear on this Sunday, March 9th. Good evening. I'm Liz Radabali. The National Guard has been deployed and a state of emergency declared after a wildfire broke out on Long Island's East End over the weekend. The cause of what sparked the fire is under investigation. County Executive Ed Romaine did not rule out the possibility that this started as an act of arson. Fighting the fires was made extra difficult as the heavy winds fanned the flames. Governor Kathy Hochul is urging locals to wear masks due to poor air quality. She has sent nearly 100,000 masks down to offices for the county's emergency services. The Department of Health and Human Services is offering all employees a voluntary buyout. Jim Forbes has more.
This weekend, administration officials confirmed all 80,000 HHS employees were offered, quote, a voluntary separation incentive payment of $25,000. Last month, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said he had a list of staffers at the department he would like to see removed. I'm Jim Forbes.
A new study from the University of California, San Francisco found a link between screen time and manic behavior in preteens. The study specifically looked at thousands of 10 and 11-year-olds who use smartphones. They found that the children who spend more time on screens were more likely to have manic episodes. The study's co-author says their findings underscore the importance of cultivating healthy screen use habits early on. Now your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Overnight clear with a low of 40. Tomorrow sunny skies, high of 61. 47 and mostly clear outside our Midtown studios. I'm Liz Radabali. Remember, news never stops at WABCRadio.com. This is a 77 WABC News Sid and Friends in the Morning update. This week on the show, new WABC talent Anthony Cumia spoke with Sid and channeled the late, great President Ronald Reagan.
I loved Nancy, but she had a head like a Mardi Gras.
And Sid spoke with lawyer and former law professor Alan Dershowitz about President Trump's threat towards Hamas.
And he's let Hamas know that not a single one of them will be left alive in Gaza.
A new Sid and Friends in the Morning tomorrow at 6 on 77 WABC.
Here at 77 WABC, we have the freedom to tell it like it is, using common sense thinking with entertaining and informative talk.
How much is saying that?
What the heck is going on here?
Kind of amazed at the commentary.
If that ain't crazy.
The freedom to dance every weekend with We Are. It's the Anthony Cumia Show.
They were doing what they were paid to do.
77 WABC.
How you doing? Welcome back. Second hour of the Anthony Cumia Show here on 77 WABC Radio.
Everything these days is a conspiracy. And I blame the internet. I blame people like Jesse Ventura, who had some of these conspiracy shows, and every single thing had to be some kind of a government conspiracy or cover-up. The latest thing, which is insane to think that this was a conspiracy in any way, shape, or form. It's tragic. It's weird that it happened this way, and I had my theories, and then when I heard what actually happened, it was even weirder and more tragic. But the death of Gene Hackman and his wife, his longtime wife, Gene was 95 years old. I mean, this guy gave us just amazing performances in so many movies. I watched Mississippi Burning the other night, and the entire cast is fantastic, but Gene Hackman is great. As a kid, I loved the Poseidon Adventure. He was the lead. It was an ensemble cast, but he was really the lead in that, the hero that sacrifices himself for the victims of the capsized ship. And just amazing. He had a long career. I think the guy retired in the 2000s at some point, but he was 95 years old when he died. Not a bad contract. Not too shabby. But everyone was wondering, it was such an odd circumstance. He was found dead by an open door in a mudroom. You open the door and you get a little area to take your shoes off and whatnot. He was there. There were sunglasses that he appeared to be wearing that were off his head when he had hit the ground. His wife was in the bathroom. She was dead on the floor, and there were pills scattered all around her. They had 3 dogs. One was inside, but not caged. One was outside, and one was inside in its cage. So you have to assume that one died horribly of starvation. I mean, I am an animal guy. Love dogs, cats, anything. Otters. Show me an otter video before I see a beheading, and I'm happy. But this is a weird circumstance. How did they both die like that? You think one dies and then reports the other one, or you try to help the other one when they're on the ground. Something just was a weird circumstance. The facts are, and this is tragic and creepy, the wife died a week before Gene Hackman did. She got hantavirus. You know what hantavirus is? It's down in the Southwest, Arizona, New Mexico, those states. And it's from mice. Mice leave their droppings all over your house, and the dust that forms when these droppings die and turn into powder, if you breathe that in, you can get hantavirus, and that's what she got. And she was no kid, you know, I think she was in her 60s, 65 or something like that. And she died first. Everyone, and myself included, I thought that Gene Hackman would have died first, being 95 years old, and then maybe the wife killed herself or, you know, was trying to get him medicated. I thought she might have seen he was on the ground, ran in to get his medicine, and slipped and hit her head in the bathroom, and the pills went flying, and they're both now dead. But no, she died first from the hantavirus. You get fever, your lungs fill up with fluid, and it's not a pretty way to go. And then for a week, 95-year-old Gene Hackman is walking around the house. He has Alzheimer's. He has chronic heart disease. And he just walks around for a week before he drops dead. Maybe at that point he had decided to leave. Maybe he was going to try to go out and walk somewhere, or he had gone out and he was coming in, but at the point he was in the mudroom, he was out of gas, and he fell down and died. And it's tragic. It's an odd circumstance, but the internet, man, social media, right when people heard they had died, they were like, I know what this is about. He had news on Hollywood. He had news on what Hollywood was doing, and you know, with the kids, and that's like, no, he's 95. He just died. And again, I blame all these people that have to pump out conspiracy theories. And it reminded me of Jesse. Jesse Ventura had a show, I think it was called Conspiracy Theory, and it was the funniest, worst thing ever. He would go to these various locations, and he was going to uncover some grand conspiracy. And they were some secret locations, you know, like Area 51, of course. And I kind of blame him, because you could see him trying to convince people that this was a problem. 95 years old. I understand he was in The French Connection. Yeah, Jesse, he was in not the movie. He was part of a drug ring in France, Paris, France. I'm going there to investigate. I'm a fighter. Really, Jesse? I was a governor. We get it, Jesse. I went to Plum Island on my boat. They wouldn't let me in. I said, I'm a governor. Yeah. It's an island with highly contagious diseases. If that's what you think, follow the money. What does that mean? Well, I don't have to tell you. I've been off the grid in Mexico for 6 months. What does that mean? Well, if you have to ask. This is what conspiracy theory people are. Exactly like that. No answers at all. All catchphrases and nonsense. And then there's no payoff. There was never a payoff. I showed up at Area 51. This is supposedly where the aliens were kept after the crash in Roswell. What did you see, Jesse? Nothing. Security kicked me out. But it proves they're hiding something. Yeah. New weapon systems. They don't want the likes of former wrestlers. I was a fighter, a governor, a Navy SEAL. Now you're a blithering idiot who isn't getting into any of these places, Jesse. Not a one. But this is the definition of these ridiculous conspiracy theorists. They have nothing, never have anything, and they want to convince you. They absolutely want to convince you that there is a problem. He was 95. His wife was very old. She had hantavirus, and he wandered around till he dropped dead. It was the Illuminati. No, it wasn't the Illuminati. He was 95 and died, Jesse. Something else real quick before we go to break here is spring break. Spring break. Every year, the youngsters, they run from their colleges to resort towns in the South and maybe in Mexico, in the Gulf of America, and they have a great time. They have a great time doing terrible things that they will regret for their entire lives, especially you ladies. A story came out about spring break Airbnbs. Now, I don't like Airbnbs anyway. I don't like things like bed and breakfasts or Airbnbs. I don't want to stay at someone's house. Put me in a Hilton. Put me in a whatever, Renaissance hotel. I'll even stay at one of those stupid boutique hotels sometimes. But it's got to have a bar, and it's got to have, I could throw my clothes and towels everywhere, and someone's going to come pick them up. I have to feel like I'm the bad guy when the woman that owns the place is cooking. She got to come up and pick up your underwear off the floor. I will take that washcloth. I don't like telling people some of my personal business, but in a hotel, I will take that washcloth and scrub in some terrible areas. Terrible. You don't even want to think about it. And then you know what I do? Do I rinse it? I take it and heave it into the corner of the shower. The flock sound it makes as the soap and God knows what else, hair and DNA splatter on the wall. That's how I want to stay when I go somewhere. I don't want to worry that I'm insulting the owner of the place. And then they have all these rules. You got to strip the bed and put it in the washing machine and make sure everything's where it was when you... It's a hassle. What am I, housekeeping? I don't want to do it. I stay in hotels. I also do this with friends that go, you coming into town? I'll stay at my place. No, I don't want to. And it ain't just me being a slob. I don't want your garbage. I don't want to go into a shower and see one of my buddies' pubes on the bathtub spout. I don't want to think about what he's doing in there. The soap. Yeah. I go to a hotel, my friends. I suggest you do it too. But these spring breakers, will-o'-the-wisp. They're young. They're inexperienced. And they just want to, have some loose sex and drink and that. They're not thinking about the problems and the dangers of the Airbnbs during spring break. The hot tubs are the problem. Now, I'm sure everything else is, the beds and everything. But all of these places, especially for spring break, have hot tubs, jacuzzis, if you will. And these things are disgusting petri dishes of bacteria. And you know why. I mean, these people are doing ungodly acts in almost boiling water. The temperature of the water is so good to foster and grow bacteria in. Oh, they snuggle in there. The bacteria has its arms on the edge of the thing, and it's looking around going, this is awesome. What a party. So they go into these things, and they get these diseases and rashes. What was one called? It was disgusting. It was like Legionnaire's disease. Legionella. It was the Legionella virus or something. Yo, Legionella. Legionella. And these kids are coming home and getting these rashes all over their body. And, you got to assume you have a communicable disease because you've probably been doing terrible things. How do they get into these things? One night they're in there They come out the next day, and it's a giant vat of egg drop soup. The whole jacuzzi is just a floating mess of gummy. Well, that's what they're doing, though. They're kids. They don't know any better. But it reminded me, being that we're broadcasting in New York and around the world through the app and the website. But New Yorkers might remember, of a certain age, of my age, I never went there, a place called Plato's Retreat. There used to be things, and there probably still is. It had to make a comeback, right? What am I, naive? Like they don't have these around anymore? But during the 80s, when AIDS reared its ugly head, all these bathhouses were closed down. Department of Health went into these places like gangbusters and just said, you guys are being very naughty and very dirty, and you are spreading some incredible diseases. So in the 70s and 80s, it was popular for men to meet at these places like Plato's Retreat. And, you think a spring break jacuzzi's bad? The skimmers in the pools, it looked like a basket of bread pudding when they went to clean them. I'm not kidding. A towel boy told me once. What they would find in that skimmer, it was actually evolving into a new life form because these guys just couldn't control themselves. So I don't know. If you're going on spring break, you might want to watch what you're getting yourself into. I don't think you want to. Any parent, by the way, I don't know how parents do it. I don't have any kids. If you don't know me, I just don't have any kids. It seems like a real hassle. I like doing things. I like just 4 a.m. if I want to play a video game or, go out all weekend and do something. I don't have to worry about a kid. I just can't. I can't be bothered. Selfish? Perhaps. But I just don't know how parents can go, yeah, sweetie. Yes, my little angel. Go to spring break, knowing what goes on there. And if you think you know your daughter, I know what she's not doing it. Someone is. I think the vast majority of dads think that their daughter isn't the one. Well, then who are all those daughters doing terrible things? Oh, my God. It's heart-wrenching, I think. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. But I don't know how parents do it. I don't know how they let them. Like sometimes I read these stories about how their parents, they chain their daughter to a radiator and they're found when they're maybe in their 30s, they could barely talk. It's like they're feral, and the cops put the mugshots up and go, oh, these pieces of crap. How did they do this to this poor girl? And then you see what happens in the real world and you go, you got to weigh it out. Maybe it balances out when you're going to sacrifice your own life going to prison, but she didn't go to spring break and go in a jacuzzi and, breathe out of the old flesh snorkel, as they say, if I may be so bold, sir. So go to a hotel. And don't go to spring break, girls. Every guy wants to have some type of intimate relationship with you, and it's probably not going to bode well. That's why I didn't go to college, and every girl I knew never went to college. Because there's less competition with a bottle of Jack Daniels, some cigarettes, some Budweisers in your truck in the woods of Long Island. That's when you could really make some moves on a girl. Yeah, I'm talking Bob Seger night moves. Not a disgusting jacuzzi at the Jersey Shore or down in Miami or something. Anyway. My PSA, that's my public service announcement fulfilled for this day. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. It's the Anthony Cumia Show. We'll be right back.
It's the Anthony Cumia Show, 77 WABC. This is the 77 WABC Politics Week in Review. I'm Dominic Carter. It was...
Yeah. Yeah, here in Yonkers, there's an old bathhouse. It's by Yonkers Avenue down there. It's about a couple of miles away from where I live. And, we drive by there, all the time, and I see it. It looks like an old building. It has to be about 100 years old. And it says it right there, Yonkers Bath House. It's like, it looks like an old brick building. It's old. It looks like it's an old building, a brown, red brick. It has long windows. I think it was a pool. I think there's also a public pool in there or something. It's indoor, of course. But it's weird. It's weird. Every time we drive by that building, I think about all the crazy stuff that must have happened in that building. I mean, it's kind of creepy. One day I'm going to do one of those walkthrough videos, and I'm going to walk by that building. I'm going to show you guys that building. I can imagine. I'm going to do some research on that building too. But I've never seen a building like that. You hear these term bathhouses. I have no clue what they are. I've never been to one. I don't want to go in one. I don't care for it. But it's there. I seen that it's a couple of miles away from my house on Yonkers Avenue. Yeah, public bathhouse. I'm like, what the hell is this? But it's closed down. It's been closed since I moved here. It's probably closed for many years before that. But it's definitely closed. It's definitely closed. It's boarded, like not boarded up, but you could tell it's closed. It's not abandoned because there's no damage in the windows or anything, but it's closed. Yeah, if he keeps it to a minimum, I'll listen to him every week. Yeah.
New numbers from the CDC show that adult cigarette smoking is added.
I mean, that's why he's on ABC because, they're the only ones that can probably, I mean, I figured he was going to be back one way or another because his sit is on in the morning and, they're kind of like the same mold. Except, I don't want to get too much into it. But, I figured he was going to be back sooner than later, especially now that, remember, it's not only Sliwa, it's Frank Morano is gone. He's running for city council. And Anthony Weiner, which I don't even care about anyway, he's also running for city council. So that's 3 radio personalities that are gone from ABC. Again, temporarily because they're all running for office. And when you run for office, you cannot have your own radio show and so on. It's the FCC. It's an FCC thing. They can actually lose their license for that. So that's why they will let go. But I think, of course, as soon as they're done with their running for office, they should be back.
And I guess we could delve into a little politics or whatever the hell is going on in the world of Washington and all those, useless people. I am loving what Elon's doing. I love the Doge thing. It's just something different. We needed something different. That 4-year stint of Biden-Harris was a catastrophe. And it was just lies, unbelievable propaganda and dishonesty. Any reporter worth their bones saying that Joe Biden was cognizant and we've heard all the things. He's sharp as a tack. The White House interns can't even keep up with him. All garbage. All absolute lies. That was perpetuated by their spokespeople and the mass media, the lying propaganda wing of the left mainstream news media. And they haven't stopped. It's like the Democrats had one play. They just have one picture, football teams, 2 of them, Democrats, Republicans, or Trump, not even Republican, Trump and the Democrats and the liberal left. And they have one play
And after 2, maybe even 3 times, you go, oh, they do this every time. They don't have a plan B for anything. So all they do, they saw how damaged they were during the election, even the lead up. Did anyone actually believe Kamala Harris had any chance of winning? I was afraid because I thought they'd steal it again. But anyone that looked and said in a legitimate, on the up and up election, Kamala Harris has a good chance of winning, was an idiot. You're just a complete dope. It wasn't going to happen. But the media lied. The excitement behind Kamala Harris, she is a juggernaut. Look at her guy. You're like, I'm not saying this. And they do the same thing they did with Hillary, the celebrities, the singers. Oh, Beyonce's coming up. No one cared. How much is the gas I'm pumping into my car? Is the border wide open? Are our allies taking supposed allies taking unbelievable advantage of us? Those are the important things, not Beyonce getting up and she wouldn't even sing. She annoyed everybody at Kamala's rally because she wouldn't sing. But I get off the beaten path here. Let me go. What I was talking about was the crime, the corruption, the stealing, the unbelievable misallocation and misappropriation of our taxpayer funds. And Trump brought up a great example. He brought up quite a few examples at the joint congressional address he did last week. One that he brought up specifically was this $2 million scam involving Democrat Stacey Abrams out of Georgia. She was in charge of $2 billion. Her and another, it's in an organization that she was part of. But the Biden administration, right before checking out and Trump checking in, gave her and this organization $2 billion with a B dollars. And the plan is ludicrous for this money. It's an insanely big number. I mean, I don't know if people know billion, but if you have a pile of $1 million, it's 1,000 of those piles. You'd crap yourself if you saw one pile and it's $1 million. You go, wow, that's a lot of money. Now 1,000 piles in your yard, you're just looking at, that's $1 billion. There's 2 of those. That's a lot of money. So she decides she's going to use the money to give free, on our dime, taxpayers' money, free appliances to people in a small town in Georgia, DeSoto, and this is going to lower their energy costs. And this is something she wanted to sweep the nation. And if you do a little math, this is in effing sanity. Listen to this clip. She's talking with Chris Hayes over at MSNBC, which is beyond regular NBC, ABC, CBS News as far as being a propaganda. They have no credibility, journalistic integrity. They don't even know what it means. All they do is toe the company line, and they're toeing the line of a company that is gone already. It's Titanic Industries. Why are you still shilling for an administration that is gone? But they have their marching orders. So here's Chris Hayes shilling for Stacey Abrams, who then tries to explain what this $2 billion appliance deal is. Listen to this garbage.
One of the ironies of the attack on you, and I'm going to play what he did, was that my understanding is the program at the source of this whole thing is a program to lower costs for people. Do I have that top line correct? You have it absolutely right. Okay, so I'm gonna play what he had to say, and then I'm going to ask you to explain what the program is that was such an obvious, ludicrous laugh line for the Republicans there. Take a listen.
$1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her?
Okay, so what is this organization? What is your relation to it, and what does it do?
In 2023 and 2024, I led a program called Vitalizing DeSoto. We worked in a tiny town in South Georgia to demonstrate that by replacing energy inefficient appliances with efficient appliances, you can lower your costs. And in fact, we accomplished that. For 75% of the community, they got appliances that are lowering their bills right now. We had one woman who saw her electric bill cut in half from $180 to $98. That's what we delivered. And based on that program, a coalition of organizations, famous organizations, came together and said to the EPA, if we can do this here, we can do this for millions more Americans. Let us invest the money of America in lowering the cost for Americans. And the EPA said, okay, great, go for it.
Go for it. Go for it. Save $98 on a one woman's electric bill in DeSoto, Georgia, a small town. Wait till you hear some math. Now, I hope I don't lose you. This is very simple math, but you need to hear this because you heard her explanation. She was given about $2 billion to decarbonize the appliances. You have an old refrigerator, it's not as energy efficient as a new one. So Stacey Abrams and the EPA that gave her $2 billion are going to get these people new energy efficient, low carbon footprint appliances. Sounds great. $2 billion. Let's do a little math. The population of DeSoto, Georgia is 120 people, not 120,000, 120 people. 75%, which she said that's who got this $2 billion benefit. That's 90 people, 75%. If you divide $2 billion between 90 people, it's $22 million per person. That's a lot of stoves. That's a lot of microwaves, a lot of refrigerators. How the hell can this idiot, this criminal, justify $2 billion for 90 people, getting them new appliances? You could buy them all palatial mansions in the Hamptons for that money. You're right next door to Howard. Hoo-hoo, Robin. And then here, I'll give you a little out on this. Maybe there's some left over. Maybe they didn't spend the entire $2 billion on appliances for the 90 people in DeSoto, Georgia. All right. Then where is it? Where is the rest of this money? There's no receipts. There's no accountability. And no one's told anyone where this $2 billion is. And you want to tell me that they're on the up and up? And these are the same people, by the way, that are crapping themselves over Elon and Doge looking into this stuff. It's been business as usual for decades and decades. No one's ever looked into this stuff. No one has looked at it. The first people that ever took a peek, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Doge, are seeing corruption and misallocation of funds at a galactic level. And we're supposed to just not like that they're doing it? They'll get on the news, Stacey Abrams and Elizabeth Warren and Maxine Waters, and all of them will get on TV and look you right in the face through the camera and say, Trump and Elon are trying to steal your money to give it to the rich corporations in these tax cuts. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are trying to steal your information. They want your social security number to have access to that. And then we see something like this, and who the hell are we supposed to believe? Honestly, are we really just supposed to believe that they're the good guys? When you see $2 billion disappear, and the only receipts they might have is 90 people in DeSoto, Georgia, that have some new stoves and a microwave or a washing machine, 22 million apiece. that you cannot account for that. And she's up there on MSNBC talking like she's defending herself, like she's coming out with some great stuff. Any lawyer would tell her to shut up. Are you out of your mind going on a news show and implicating yourself in this? Are you mental? And, there's Chris Hayes smiling. Yes, that's what we knew. We knew that Trump and Musk and Doge. This is what Pam Bondi needs to jump on. This is the stuff Pam Bondi needs to jump on. Not the, God, that Epstein file thing. Phase 1, by the way, phase 1. This is like, indict her, investigate this, get an indictment. And she's one in the huge crowd. They've all been playing this game. And we look at and talk about, they talk about all the time, how the hell do we have this huge deficit? This is why. We're paying money to criminals. That's where our tax money is going. So I would love to see something come of this. We see congressional hearings. We see these politicians, they get censured or they get chastised or whatever the hell other slap on the wrist punishment they give these politicians. But how do you defend this one? You better come up with $1,999,990,000, because I think the rest can maybe retrofit some appliances for 90 people. But unbelievable. This is what we're dealing with. And like I said, Bondi's got to jump on this. She has to come up with something big after this Epstein file debacle, which is exactly what it was. It was a publicity stunt. I think they thought it was going to be this big payoff. It was show business. This wasn't doing something that the American people looked at and said, wow, this is what we want out of our attorney general. It was a joke. She had these files. She didn't even know what was in it. She gives them to internet influencers who jump around in front of the White House like they just won the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstake. And then they start putting it out to the public, and it's nothing. It's all redacted, and anything that wasn't redacted was stuff we had seen 1,000 times before already. And I've said this before, and mark my words on this one. You will never see the true damage and the people that were involved in that Epstein a crime against humanity. You will never see it. And there's a reason. They've come out recently, and I guess Pam Bondi had said, well, we'll put these out, but stuff is going to have to be redacted for national security reasons. National security. So I'm being led to believe here, if it's a national security issue, that Epstein was a informant, a confidential informant to the FBI, or there are some really, really powerful people caught literally with their pants down, that perhaps Epstein was blackmailing them, had video or audio or pictures or all three, and it doesn't make sense for national security reasons that you'd have to keep this from the public. They've even had that for years with the Kennedy assassination. Well, there are still people alive. Who? Are they 110? well, there's still, techniques that were used that are, shut up, whatever. But that was so long ago, and it involved the president and shit. And you look at something like this and go, what could possibly be a national security issue with Epstein? And then I was thinking about it. It's no one thing. It's the whole thing. If some of the people involved in this, or most of the people involved in this, were unbelievably powerful people in this country, Hollywood, Washington, how could you put a list out there with people that are still in unbelievable positions of power? Could you imagine? Like, you're not going to see this perp walk. Like, ladies and gentlemen, let's look. Oh my God, it's Steven Spielberg. He's being let out in an orange jumpsuit and chains around his ankles. Steven, what were you arrested for? Oh my goodness, look who's coming out next. It's Tom Hanks. Tom, you look great. What's your next motion picture? And can you do it from prison? Here's Lady Gaga, covered in child's blood. This is wonderful, Lady Gaga. You're never, ever going to see this. We'd love to. People should be held accountable. But do you think people in that position of power are going to be arrested? And not even because they don't want to get them in trouble or because they're powerful. They are so influential and have their roots dug in to this country and have so much to do with the economy of this country. Because really, what's keeping me from believing that every single powerful director, producer, and actors in Hollywood have something to do with pedophilia and trafficking and all the horrors we've heard over the course of the years? Imagine Hollywood shutting down because everyone that does anything of note is arrested. It couldn't happen. It's an industry that is so crucial to America, it becomes a national security issue. And now when you bring politicians into it, politicians that are still serving, they're still senators, they're congressmen, governors, mayor, whatever, at such a level that it would absolutely gut the government. That's a national security issue. You try explaining what else could possibly be a national security issue where they have to redact these papers, then it would be such an impact on everything. Morale. Never mind just economically, morale. Oh, we got nothing. They were all pieces of garbage. Yeah, I think that kind of, kind of looks bad, and it kind of screwed the country up, and that might be why they're making it a national security issue. But that's why it tanked, and that's why Pam Bondi looked bad. Go for something with real substance. Don't go for this, internet meme viral thing. Oh, look, we got we got some Epstein files that implicate who? The guy, the fat guy from Head of the Class that was smelling girls' feet at Nickelodeon? His name escapes me at this moment. But yeah, that guy, you're going to throw him to the wolves? Someone will get thrown under the bus, but it's not your huge, your huge names that you see 20 feet across on IMAX screens. None of those names. None of those names, my friends. So Pam Bondi's got to get on the ball and look at some of these politicians that are multi-millionaires on a $225,000, $250,000 a year paycheck from their service. Don't you love hearing that one? Whenever one of these politicians drop dead, it's so funny to hear the eulogies and the statements from other politicians. The sacrifice of service that he gave to this country, it's just so amazing that somebody cared so much to, yeah, how much was he worth? Oh, $200 million. What a service he did for the country. All criminals. Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, again, another. There's a whole bunch of them that are just stinking, filthy rich, and no one even knows how. And we have to argue and debate that maybe they shouldn't be able to buy stocks and commodities. These people that know everything that's going on in every business in the country, every new regulation that might help or hurt a company, and they're allowed to buy stock in those companies. And then Nancy Pelosi makes deals with stock deals for NVIDIA and other companies that about a year ago or so just went through the roof. Oh, did she know what the chip makers were going to do and how advantageous that was going to be to NVIDIA? Yeah, she did. And that should be looked into. Pam Bondi's got to get on that and make sure we convict, we indict and convict these people. Yeah, I want to see some of these very popular faces go to jail, and not in some sham trial like they put on for Trump. That was just trying to destroy and imprison and in some cases murder the opposition candidate. These are real criminals that committed real crimes against the American people. And Bondi's got to jump on that. Let's try to do something now that will make us forget about the Epstein file phase 1 debacle. We'll be right back in a minute. Don't go anywhere. Anthony Cumia Show.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas,
Groceries? When was the last time you checked your wireless bill?
All right, good night, VT Radio. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, so we got about maybe 15 minutes left to the Anthony Cumia Show. It's debuting on WABC here in New York City. And 77 on the dial. They also have an app, by the way. If you guys can, they do have a WABC app that you guys can check out. So you guys that live out of town and you can't get WABC, definitely get the app. I use several apps too. I have another app called Talk Right. It's a great app. I use that app a lot. Talk Right. I listen to a lot of shows that are outside. For example, I listen to Howie Carr show. It's up in Massachusetts. I know Chicopee, you know what I'm talking about. Howie Carr. I've been listening to Howie Carr for quite a few years now. I love the Howie Carr show, but they don't have a local. He's not here locally, so I have to listen to him through the app. Or if I'm on Rumble, I listen to him. I watch him there live stream, or on Facebook. He has Facebook live stream also.
Right now, through your favorite podcast platform. From the crisis here at home to the chaos in Washington and around the world. In times like these, one station tells you the truth about what's going on. We are entertaining and informative, and we've got the best lineup in talk radio. Talk Radio 77 WABC. This is the Anthony Cumia Show. 77 WABC.
Oh, yeah. Anthony Cumia Show. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuning in tonight. I do appreciate it. It's been quite some time since I've been on the terrestrial radio airwaves, and it's great. I am enjoying the living hell out of this, and your support is greatly appreciated. I got to touch on this thing because this Eric Swalwell, it just imagine being able to walk around with your head up, held high, criticizing other people and what they do.
when you actually had sexual relations with a Chinese spy named Fang Fang. He should have his head buried in the dirt every second of the day. Anyone asking him any question, they should shy away like a scared Yorkie. He should not be this confident. But these politicians, they're all just garbage like this. Chuck Schumer's another one. I mean, he's holding the job in New York like a pope. He will not leave. And he's done nothing but wreck this state. But Swalwell, Eric Swalwell, there's a clip of him saying that Musk, and this is one of the tropes and one of the things that they like trying to spread around in the media, again, the left-wing propaganda media, they run with it too, that Elon Musk is the president. Get it? Donald Trump is just, Jabba the Hutt sitting there. and Elon is the guy running the show. He's pulling the puppet strings. And the idea of that, especially coming off the heels of the Biden puppet show, is ludicrous. We're seeing Donald Trump working. Really, have you seen a president work harder? I don't care if you love what he's doing or despise what he's doing. Have you ever seen a president every single day? He's doing something. He's addressing the media. I've never seen this type of transparency since the first Trump administration, and this one's even more. They hid everything for the 4 years under Biden-Harris. And these Democrats like Eric Swalwell, they celebrated it. And his press spokeswoman sat there and lied every day about what his intention was, what his motivation was, how well he was doing his job as president. And now we're seeing a president who's doing something. And he's working with Elon Musk and Doge, not as a co-president. I don't even have to tell you people this. You must know it. If you were smart enough to find this show, you're smart enough to know that that's garbage. And I would hope so anyway. But here's Eric Swalwell talking about how Musk, and he's trying to make it funny. This guy's just such a comic. How Musk is the real president. And he dropped an F-bomb right at the beginning of this statement. And I'll have something to say about that, too. Let's listen to this clip of Eric Swalwell.
What a week, huh? You know how weird this week was? I went to the State of the Union, and the president didn't even speak. He just sat up in the visitors gallery like a total weirdo and let his press secretary do all the talking. What a week.
Get it? Get it? Because Elon was up in the gallery and Trump was down there and yuck, shut up. Do you understand? We still don't know exactly who ran this country for 4 years under Joe Biden. We have no clue. Was it Obama? Was it globalists? Was it the Illuminati or something? We don't know. Decisions were being made that directly affected us and this country. Lives were at stake. And we have no idea to this day who is actually pulling the strings. And this guy's trying to imply that Elon Musk is the head guy and Trump's his flunky. It's all they got. Like I said, they're playing one play. And they get plowed over every time they get up and do the same play again. And the American people are looking at this and going, no more. I know this is a bunch of garbage, and we aren't going to stand for it anymore. The other thing is the cursing. Like Donald Trump, it works for Trump. He went to the rallies, and he'd start talking, and he'd drop S-bombs and F-bombs, and it fit. That's Donald Trump. Donald Trump was a builder. He built buildings in Manhattan. Do you know what it took in the 80s to get a yard of cement into Manhattan? You had to sit down with the 5 families. He had to be able to make deals with the 5 families. It's natural for him to say, throw an S or an F-bomb out there every so often. These people just sound stupid doing it. And again, it's like memes. They can't meme. They try to be energetic It looks stupid. They're doing a dance, a TikTok dance. They just come off looking terrible. The American people finally see it. And every day that goes by, we're seeing more and more of the lies. And we see right through this facade that they care about you. How do they care about you if they're robbing us blind? How do they care about you if they're looking at what Donald Trump and Elon are doing, trying to save the taxpayers' money, and say, we're the ones that aren't lying, they're lying? It's such nonsense. And I'm glad we woke up. I hope this isn't just a speed bump. I hope the Trump administration isn't just a speed bump to the next disaster. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, what a great time. My first show here on WABC Radio. And again, I want to tell everybody I appreciate all the support. I want to thank, of course, John and Chad. And of course, my good friend. Should I even say his name? Sid Rosenberg. Have a great night, everybody. And we'll see you next Sunday.
This is New York's talk leader, the crown jewel of talk radio. WABC New York and 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bays. 77 WABC News starts now.
I'll leave it down.
March 9th. Good evening. I'm Liz Radabali. U.S. Secret Service
Liz
agents
Radabali
near the White House last night. An agency spokesperson
Yes,
said shortly
look,
after
look at
midnight
this,
on Sunday, agents
I
confronted
follow her on
a man
Instagram
a block
too.
away from the
Liz
West Wing.
Radabali.
He allegedly pulled out a
She's
gun
funny.
before being shot and was taken to the hospital. The Secret
Yeah.
Service was reportedly tipped off of the man.
Yeah, good night, everybody. Yeah, I'm going to sign off too anyway. Let me shut this down. Shut down my radio. There you go. I shut it down. Yeah, it was good. It was good to hear him on the air again. I'm glad that he's back on the air. Good for AM radio too, by the way. Another personality that was on FM, now he's on AM. So that's great for that. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching this live stream. I just wanted to share that with you guys. The Anthony Cumia show is the first one, debut. He's back on terrestrial radio. And I certainly missed him. And, I'm definitely going to be hearing him every Sunday night from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, Eastern time now. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Have a good night.